Robert. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. I just want to say thank you so much for being here today. And I truly appreciate the work that you do, the clarity, the honesty, the ground approach that you bring to the conversations about mindset and personal change. So, again, I really appreciate that. I'm honored to have you here.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. I'm very honored to be asked to speak. And like you've addressed, this is becoming more and more of an important topic, and it's something that I've always leaned into, and it's something that has guided me personally. So it's important for me at this stage to speak to others about it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I totally agree. There is definitely a big shift happening. So, I mean, the more we get it out there, the better it is. People can, look into it. Because if you have that little spark of interest of change, then I think this is it. So my
Absolutely.
question to you is, what inspired you to write "Stop Looking at Zebras"?
Well, that's my second book, and my first book was very much entrenched in mental health, with respects to social media. And it was funny because I'm a trained graphic designer. I've been a designer all my career. And when my father found out that I was writing my first book, he asked, "Well, what about design are you writing about?" And I said, "Actually, it has nothing to do with design." So he was quite shocked about that. But at the time, I figured there's enough beautiful, elevated design books out there with lovely portfolios, and here's how I did this, and I didn't see the need for another one of those. Once I finished writing my first book, I realized that there's a whole mental health aspect to what we do as creatives. And in order to enjoy a long career, and from where we come from as designers, that we do have to be very intentional in what we do, how we do it. Um, and so I wrote "Stop Looking for Zebras" um, as a guide through your career that has nothing to do with computers or techniques or how to. Um, More about everything you didn't learn at school, and all of the pitfalls and the challenges that you are faced with as a creative, and that could be as a writer, as a videographer, as a graphic designer, as an illustrator, anything that requires feedback, and creativity. And it's becoming more and more difficult. So that's
Mm.
why I wrote.
Yeah, it is in a way. I guess people are really trying to figure this out, and I find it too. It's just so difficult right now for the younger generations because they're so submerged in the social media, right? Like it's
Yeah,
like there's so much information. It's overload
yeah,
sometimes, so it's confusing for them.
it is for sure. And I've taught at the college level for 20 years now,
Mhm.
part time. And again, I've seen a major shift in how my students show up and what they're struggling with. And it's changed dramatically over the years, even though I'm teaching a very similar thing. Again, it's not technique, it's mindset. And I'm seeing it more and more as an issue because we're such a push on technological advances with respects to hardware and software that we use,
Mhm.
and that's for anybody working today. That we're on this hamster wheel of, oh, now I've got to learn this software, and now I've got to get caught up on this software. And what happens when we do that is that we're playing everybody else's game and we're forgetting about ourselves.
Mhm.
We don't take time to take a breath, get away from the technology, and really get centered on who we are and how we show up,
Mhm.
instead of, and not realizing that everybody else is on the same hamster wheel. So when we try to stand out, we can't stand out with those things because everybody else is there, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's what I really instill in my students.
Mm. Why so many people chase the wrong opportunities in today's world? Is it because we are so bombarded by so many things, or is there truly um, a shift happening where, you know, the old system doesn't work anymore?
It's all based on fear, really, and the fear. We used to talk about FOMO, the fear of missing out.
Mhm,
And that was at the time when that term came out, it was more about social,
mhm,
and now it's really what I call uh, FOMOT, which is fear of missing out technologically.
mhm,
And so it's the fear of being left behind. It's the fear of being outdated. It's the fear of not being current. So that's why people are constantly on this hamster wheel
mhm,
of, okay, well, now I've got to learn this. So one thing that I teach and a challenge I give to the people that I coach and teach is for 2 weeks, calculate all of the time you spend learning a new piece of technology. Calculate that over 2 weeks, and then take that number, and now you owe yourself that amount of time to build personal growth, because there should be that balance, right? It shouldn't all be just learning new technology, new technology, because that's not developing yourself and how you show up, which is your key differentiator. And also it's rooted in your self worth, right? And so when you balance that, yeah, I'll be honest, I'm a technical geek. I love technology. I love automation. I love those sorts of things, but I never let it get in the way of my creativity on what makes me human, and how I show up. And so that's why I teach that balance is that you've got to get some time away, equal your time, if not more. I mean, you really do deserve more time on personal development than technological, but that's a way to start, is to quantify it and understand how many hours are you doing it. Wow, that's a lot in this. Okay, so now you should do these things for yourself.
mhm. Yes, me personally, I have, about 3 years ago, I went through that stage where it was just like constantly on Facebook.
Yep.
And then I, it just wasn't getting anywhere. I just felt into that pattern of like scrolling. It just wasn't very productive. I looked at my time on my phone. I'm like, oh my gosh, I spent 7 hours on Facebook. I'm like, what the heck is going on? So then slowly, I mean, it was kind of like going back and forth, back and forth. Like I stopped for a bit, then I completely got off social media, then I went back and then I did the same thing. I was off again for 8 months. Like I'm reinventing myself in the way. And I was off for 8 months from May till now. And I'm coming back with the mindset of, you know what, there's certain things I need to focus on, but I'm not going to be pulled in. I have these reminders. I have like little stickers on my wall and that stuff, just little reminders. Don't do
Yep.
that. Stay away from it. You do
Yep.
your business, you do your things, then you lock it. You get out. You leave it. Just
Yep.
don't get sucked into that, right? It's very easy to get sucked in. And
Yep.
I know I see that in my own children as well. I have an 18, 16, and a 13-year-old, and I totally get it. My 13-year-old doesn't have iPhone, which we're like, not sure, maybe we should wait till, he's 14, 15, because, their minds are like such as sponges. And I see it in my other two. They're so hooked, and it's so hard to get them off. And
Well, Australia just passed a law that you can't be on social media below the age of 16.
oh wow,
They just passed that. First country in the world, which I think is wonderful. Again, it's like anything. It's like drinking, driving,
yeah,
voting. It should be a part of all of that, because those are all aligned with a level of maturity,
right.
and understanding and self-awareness, where um, before that, you're just too susceptible.
Yeah, well, they have no control of where they're going and what they're doing, right? It's just mindless scrolling, and I really enjoy that too. I enjoy it. I love what the school system did. I'm on the Quebec side, but and my
Right.
kids go to English school, but that's what they did. The phones need to stay in the lockers. They're not allowed to bring in them. in the hallways, in their classes. It's absolutely fantastic. So
It's interesting to me too, again, with the AI now coming in, because we've had discussions at the school level.
yeah.
Once AI became something of an issue to discuss with regards to homework,
Mm,
um, and there was a big like, how do we monitor now? In the past, we had a system where you could feed in documents that came in from students, and it would look for plagiarism.
mhm,
But now with AI, that's not really a thing that you can do.
mhm,
And that kind of mystified me in a sense because I said, well, to me, it seems pretty easy to tell AI and not.
mhm,
But you've got to pay attention as an educator. You should know your students.
mhm,
And if they suddenly hand in papers that's using language that is not in their vocabulary,
mhm,
um, and elevated writing, there's certain clues there. And what I would do is I go, okay, this is a little off. So I would just call a student over, one on one, and I'd say, really, really
mhm,
great paper. Could you elaborate a little bit more on this part? Because I want to see where you're coming from in that, and just,
mhm,
you know, ask them some direct questions. And you don't need any software. You don't need any more technology to fight that technology. You just need to be a person
mhm,
and have a conversation.
mhm. Do you see that AI is going to be more present in the school systems,
I mean,
especially
it
at
already,
the university level?
yeah, I mean, it certainly is, and you can't get away from it. So it's just a matter of how you deal with it. I'm fortunate enough that I'm teaching creativity, and that so again, it becomes very obvious if they are using those sorts of things, and in our day to day in the creative industry, I mean, AI represents a great opportunity for doing some preliminary research, for
Mhm,
example,
mhm,
and things like that. So I don't have an issue as far as that goes, because it does, it's an efficiency thing. And as long as you're fact checking and understanding that AI is not infallible, that
mhm,
it does lie sometimes, that it does make up things sometimes. Um,
100%.
yeah, so you've just got to be, and it's funny to me because in the past schools were always like, don't trust Wikipedia because it's not, completely 100% accurate.
Mhm.
And somehow we find AI infallible, and it's the same thing, right? So
Find ways. I'm not really into it as much yet. I mean, I know there's a lot of businesses coming out and they're like, you should take advantage of it and use it as part of your business module or whatever, but I'm not there yet myself. I'm scared. I was like, I don't know. It
yeah,
just sounds so different than yourself. So
yeah,
I'm a
and
little
it,
bit
and
skeptical about it.
yeah, and rightfully so. I mean, still, there's a lot of people that are really do distrust it and don't want to go down that rabbit hole, and that's absolutely fair. And it is at the end of the day. I just finished writing an article called "AI is Coding." And that's all it is, right? It's not because people are saying, well, it's going to take over the creative industry and human interaction and things, and it's not, because if you look at prompts that you do in AI and that, they are basically um, coding with adjectives in it, right? Like it just, you're having a conversation, but you are giving it prompts. Like if you look at some of the prompts, it looks like a line of code. And to build a line of code and to use AI, you're using the left side of your brain. You're not using your right side. And so therefore it could never be creative because you're using the wrong side of your brain. Plus the work that AI is doing, it's just scraping from the internet. So
Right.
it's regurgitating. It really is mediocrity.
Mm. But isn't it going to get better from now or smarter, as we say?
Well, see, again, it's only getting better at plagiarism. It's only getting better at using information that it gathers from the internet and that.
Yeah.
And original thought doesn't originate on the computer, or on the internet. You
Right.
know, it's in your brain. It's in who you are as a person. It's in your life experience. It's in all of your sensibilities and empathy, things, all things that could never exist in that world. And that's one thing I talk to my students is one thing that we have as communicators in the graphic design world is we need to bring empathy to the table. We need to understand what the client is selling, understand their audience, understand the usage, and look at when we do get analytics and when we do get data, we need to understand that from a human level, not from a data level. The data is very valuable, but it's the interpretation of the data in a human platform is where the difference. It's like 3D printing, right? And I use this as an example for the students. AI and 3D printing are very similar in that if you're using a 3D printer and you have a bad file and you put it in, you're going to end up with a blob that's completely useless at the other end. Now, if you've got a good file that you put into the printer, which takes creativity, thought, understanding, process to really say, this is what I'm looking for, and you put it into the 3D printer, well, you're going to end up with, let's say, a figurine. But it's not done yet. You still have to polish it. You still have to paint it. You still have to prepare it. So you need human interaction, ideation, and then execution at either end of those. And the technology in the middle, whether it's AI or 3D printing, exists in the middle for efficiency and speed, right? AI is the same. You need a person at the beginning and you need a person at the end to build.
Right. It's just like a helper.
Yeah,
So basically, it's skipping the middle part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's simply to deal with the demand that we have in culture right now. Like we live in an on-demand society. And it all started with skip the dishes and Netflix and all of these, things on demand where we can get them instantly. The problem is in social media, it's quick, quick, quick.
Yes.
Problem with those services is that they're pre-existing content, right? Like Netflix, we can watch what we want when we want because it's already been created. Right. And that thinking, unfortunately, has trickled down into other industries where people have an expectation of instant gratification in that. And, creativity, for example, or building, a brand or something that has connection takes time. It's not something you can speed up. And AI can plug in there to help you out on the research side to speed that part of it up. But that execution and thinking and that takes time.
What mindset blocks do you see most often in young people that you work with?
Mm-hmm. So young people are very much focused on how and not why, right? It's very much a culture, and that's, again, the whole technology and growing up the way they did. How is that made? How do we build that? How do I, which is, further down the process instead of why do I need, and there's so many things that we see online, products, services that we go, why on earth did somebody think this was of value or needed, right? It's because there was no why. It's a world of just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? And if you stop and you say, okay, why would people? And that's our mindset in the industry that I work in, design and branding, is we have to analyze the why. Why does somebody pick that product instead of that product? Why did this, cause that instead of how?
So, how do we change the mindset of these kids? How do we teach them that?
Okay, so the way we need to teach kids is technology is not going anywhere. AI is not going anywhere. It's going to change, in that we are very much in the gestation period of AI, where everybody's trying to figure out where and how we're going to use it. Right? Still, that it's just like when the iPhone was launched. It's called the iPhone because we needed context. At this point now, smartphone. At this point now, we use it as a phone, like below the 10th the 10 top uses of the smartphone is not phone. So AI is at that stage now. We're trying to define where does it fit, and how do we use it. So for kids in education, What we need to do is to demonstrate to them through structure in the classroom, where and when. So in my class, for example, I teach pencils before pixels. So when we're ideating, when we're concepting, when we're doing that front end thinking part, it's always pen and paper, pencil and paper before you go to the computer, because that is the more efficient way to do it. Otherwise, you're going to be distracted, and it's going to take at least 4 or 5 times longer if you just jump on the computer. Our mindset is, oh, I'm going to jump on the computer because that's what work is. You sit in front of a computer. Secondly, it's going to make me more efficient. Well, in the creative process, it's the opposite. So if you sketch and you doodle and get some ideas out, then go to the computer, we're then using the computer for its purpose, which is efficiency, clarity, making concepts clean and more accurate mathematically and that. But you don't do that until you've got the idea. So in the classroom scenario, we need to demonstrate that, right? And so the first step is do not have computers at the desks. Because right now schools are set up that you walk in and you sit at your chair and there's a computer in front of you. So subliminally and repetition is causing to say, oh, if I've got, oh yeah, I'm going to start work now, is to sit in front of a computer. And not, so we need to get people comfortable and in the rhythm of, okay, I'm doing this now, like understanding that split. We never had that before. It was always, tactile and analog. But now, because of this computer, software, that it is it's something we got to train our brains now to say, okay, yeah, I need to write, I need to ideate, therefore, I'm going to, go somewhere else to do that.
Yeah, mindset is, you have to be open to receive certain information. Sometimes people are having these blockages, right? So it's like you said, I think it's just rewriting that program in our heads of how can we look at this differently, because I've said that many times. So when you have your apps and you can organize them, well, because your mindset gets to the point where it knows where it is, like you said, before you go to the class, there's a computer. It's an automatic thing. Once a month, what I do is I switch my apps around. So that way my mind is, and I noticed this couple of times, because when I change it the night before, let's say on Sunday, I go to bed, in the morning I get up and I'm trying to look, okay, what time is it or whatever. I'm like, oh, the app is not here. But it's my subconscious mind knows that it's there. But when I look at it, I'm like, oh, it's not there. So then I'm using my brain, be like, okay, I have to look for it. Oh, there it is. That's where I put it. And I love that because it makes me not almost robotic knowing where it is. It's like I have to go and I'm like, oh, that's where it is.
That's the key. The key there is being present. We're not present right now in our day. We are going through the motions because computers and that are doing things for us. And so we get into that rhythm where we're not thinking as much. But when we stop and we change, and that's a great, I love that. I might adopt that because it just makes, and it's funny. I do workshops, and there was one that I was doing for a while there. That was a full day workshop, and it was in a boardroom, and there was lunch. And so at lunch, I had them have lunch in a separate room. And while they were out, I took all of the chairs out of the boardroom. And so when they came back, they all stopped and kind of looked around. Yeah. And I said, okay, what's happening right now? And they said, well, the chairs aren't here. I said, more importantly, what's happening right now? And they said, I don't know. I said, you're present right now. Your brain is processing because I just took the chairs out. One little thing in this room has changed. You came in this room with the idea that I'm going to sit at the chair that I was at. I've got my notebook in front of me. I've got my coffee. And you're now instantly going into the motions. So I'm going to listen to this workshop. But when walking in, all I did was take the chairs out. Now you are 100% present because you're problem solving. Because you're like, okay, what is going to happen now? And these little things that we can do to trick our brains, It's like if you're a snacker and there's snacks in the house, make them inconvenient. Put them really high up so you actually have to get a chair to go up and get to them or whatever. So you suddenly become present instead of just grabbing that bag of chips.
Right.
You have to have the presence like, no, I really want, you have that thought of, okay, is it worth going to get the chair and to climb up? Because you suddenly have to stop and problem solve and remind yourself, oh, maybe I shouldn't have the chips right now.
Mhm. It's hard for people to be in the present moment, I find. And I know because I'm speaking for myself, I'm not speaking for anybody else, is that we tend to live in the past or live in the future.
Yep.
Very much so. And
Yep.
it's like, how do we bring ourselves back to this present moment, to pay attention, to be like we're talking right now, everything is off on my side. And I'm paying attention, I'm being present with you at this moment, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people I find it too, that they're having a hard time with that, you
Yep.
know?
There's a really good book called The Power of Now.
Yes. Yes.
And it's good. And
By
I highly
Eckhart
recommend,
Tolle, yes.
I recommend reading it, not listening to the Audible, because the problem with Audible is because I listen to a lot of books and that, and a lot of times they hinge on the quality of the narrator, of the reader. And unfortunately, it's the author, and his tone doesn't really work with the content. The content is much better when you're reading it.
Mhm.
Other audibles that I've listened to have been very good because of the narrator and very connecting. But anyways, The Power of Now is very good for
Mm.
that.
Eckhart Tolle is coming to Ottawa in May, so I can't wait.
Oh,
Yes.
nice. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's
I'm,
yeah.
I'm buying it. Hopefully my husband won't be listening to this episode, but I'm getting tickets for us for Christmas.
Nice.
Excited, yes.
Oh, I didn't know he was coming. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm super.
Yeah.
So now, what limiting beliefs keep people really stuck? And even when they, for example, know better.
Mhm. Well, the biggest, again, bottom line is the biggest threat and the biggest roadblock, hurdle in your life is going to be yourself, always. And somebody will say, well, what if I was in a narcissistic, relationship or in an environment? Well, again, it's one of those situations where you've got to be centered. You've got to be aware of who you are and what you bring to the table. So your limiting beliefs are always personal, and like you said earlier, they're always based on the past or the future. And what I find mostly is people are afraid of the future. In that it's like, oh, if we look at pardon me, if they look at presenting a concept or putting something out there on social media, the first thought is always, oh, what if people don't like it? Oh, what if people get angry? Oh, what if?
Mhm.
And what I like to say to people I coach and my students is, you're not psychic.
Mhm.
You don't know how someone's going to react. You don't know if that's going to be the case
Mhm.
until it happens. And that's we go back to, the power of now.
Right.
Is that you've got to more and more we need to, because we're altering, the technology is altering how we talk. It's altering what words we use because it's telling us, oh, these are keywords that you need to put in your article that will get noticed. Oh, these are topics you need to talk about to get noticed. And again, that slowly erodes your voice.
Mhm.
And so there's this fear of judgment.
Yes.
And that goes back to, again, you are projecting on
Mhm.
somebody else or an audience or a time period
Mhm.
what the outcome is going to be. And you honestly do not know.
Mm.
Um, so, as well, it's funny that we live in a culture where um, they're always talking about fail often, fail quickly, in the technologies and things like that. But the other side of it is we're told not to fail in a public space, because
Mhm.
we're going to get judged and we're going to get,
Yeah. So it can get pretty confusing, especially for the youth.
yeah. And
It's
that's
like
why I
the
say everything you
expectation. Mhm.
Everything you should do should be building yourself um, in your strength, in your inner strength. And honestly, I've coached people in Nigeria, in Asia, in Australia, the States, like a lot of different places. And every one of them, regardless of geography, regardless of economic background, regardless of race, of sex, any of those things, all of them show up because they're struggling with self awareness, they're struggling with self esteem,
Mm.
and they want to know how to get out of that pattern. Um, and that's most of the exercises that I take them through are self awareness exercises.
Mhm.
What do you bring to the table? Stop judging yourself based on other people. That's my first book was called The Frankenstein Condition. And it's all about how we
Mm.
manufacture this perfect human
Yes.
being to put yourself against, right? And it's that person could never exist. We've built them based on the best traits of people around us. And that's where this all comes down to. It's like I'm a horrible parent because this, and this. Well, did you realize that, this parent that you're judging yourself against is the amalgamation of 10 other parents, and therefore this
Right.
parent could never exist. It's not real.
Mm. It's what we put in our head, and
Hmm.
then we have these
Yep.
beliefs, and that doesn't suit us. That they don't do any good for us. So.
No, and the bottom line is the only person on the planet that we are in control of is ourselves. We have no
Mm.
control of other people, how they react, how they are, their backgrounds. We don't know where they're coming from, and that we're only in charge of and
Our
able
own.
to control how we show up.
Mm-hmm.
And then based on the interactions that we have, we then have the freedom or ability to choose who we surround ourselves with, if they support that, or if they, or let them go if they're not in support of that, right?
Mm. The ego is in the way sometimes.
Mhm. Yep. Yep.
What
Absolutely.
role does identity play in long-term success?
I think that's becoming more and more important again with AI and that. I see a lot of people, let's say, applying for jobs, for example. And they're like, well, I got to dust off my resume. And it's like, yeah, you need a resume, sure, but you really need to know who you are before you put together that resume, because who you are is what's going to elevate you above other people applying for the job. Because if we just, because you're feeding your resume into the algorithm,
Yes.
80% of jobs out there are done that way. So you put into the machine and then it says, oh, you've said this word this many times and this word this many times. So you get put into this pile, right?
Mm.
And so when you have a good idea of self and your presence, then, you can push yourself forward and find ways. Because at the end of the day, people hire people, they hire for culture,
Mhm.
right? And none of that is being seen in in the faceless resumes and that. So finding a different way of showing up outside of that is important. But you really need to, again, take those quiet moments. It's funny to me that alarm clocks still exist, and they still exist because there are people who need an alarm clock to get up in the morning, but don't want their phone in the bedroom. Right, so their phones are in the kitchen or the dining room or wherever, charging overnight, and the only thing they have in the room is an alarm clock to get you up. Right, so
Mm.
it
I
seems
like
you,
that. I like
yeah.
that. Hmm. Yeah. Um, Talking about clocks. I I was in the same boat where I used to have like I was very like my phone. I would be up late. I would stay till like 1 o'clock in the morning. And in the last 8 months, when I disconnected myself from social media completely, I also disconnected myself from the phone and everything. Like I use my phone for my business and things like that, but it was completely off. I made that rule for myself only.
Mm-hmm.
No phone in the bedroom. It was away, and it was the alarm. It was an old clock with the
Yeah.
little red, that would. shine and that stuff.
Yeah.
And it worked. Now I have my phone back in it. I have my little alarm there and all that stuff, but it works. And sometimes you have to resetting your mindset. It's resetting your system to not being so hooked to this.
Yeah.
I guess you can call it system. So
Absolutely. And again, we make these, like I said, like with the snacks, for example, and the technology is the same. When you make it in either a inconvenient, so that when you have to use it, that your brain is saying, "Oh yeah, no, I have to, so I'm going to go,
right.
and use it." That's a tactic. Also, eliminating, because we're always adding apps or we're adding, and you know, going through and editing out some of that stuff, but also our mindset, our brains get, you know, although I
Our
am in the,
brain likes comfort. It
well,
likes
yeah, and routine, right?
and
And routine works. And so that's why, for example, when we were in COVID lockdown and people were turning their dining rooms into an office, that wasn't working for people because you'd set up your computer and that, and then, 10 minutes later, you'd be standing up, or you'd feel some anxiety, or you'd be like, you know, uh, and the whole idea was because your brain is no, in this room we eat and we talk. Now I'm here with no food and no people. I don't know what to do. Right. And so that's why the concept of the third space, first space being family, home, second space being work, and the third space, which very few people have and everybody should have, is a place where you, or the space where you are free to be you, no rules. That's why writers and musicians and architects and that have that cabin in the woods, retreat. Some people are nomadic, and so it's their third space is Starbucks today, Tim's tomorrow. Like just nomadically going around. But it's those, I need to be somewhere else to do this task. But when you have that third space, and it might be like an office in the house where that's like I have here, my brain knows when I come here, this is what I do here. So I'm allowed to be creative. And that's important. Again, for these rituals to have that familiarity. Neil Gaiman, the author, has who's known for building these fantastical worlds. His cabin in the woods is a shack, literally, made of plywood, and he said it's the most boring place on earth. But he said, I go there, and because it's so boring, I have to create these fantastical worlds to make it an interesting space.
Talking about creative space and these beliefs, do you think we're lacking these beliefs today?
Yeah. See, again, these are hard things for us. For myself, I'm in my 50s. I've experienced, the analog world and that, so I can make that transformation. But I think people younger than myself and that who grew up in the technology space, and particularly the younger generation, it's hard seeing that when you really haven't experienced it. Right? There's always a computer in front of you. There's always some kind of technology. Um, I'm very happy. I have two sons, and we had a fishing hunt camp that the family was a member of, and you get it for a week every year. And when we go up, my sons are, well, they're they're millennials, and gamers and all of that. And I thought, oh, going up to the cottage, that's going to be hard because there's no Wi-Fi, there's no there's no cell. And they both said to me, no, that's why we're looking forward to it. And they were out in the canoe all day long. They were fishing, they were swimming, and just loving it. Right. Unfortunately, that's not the norm. And it really, should be. So that, again, we talked about age maturity, and that, I think it's important that they experience as much analog time as they do digital time. I mean, our rule at the house was for every hour that you play a game, you've got to do an hour outside. Um, and so again, that balance, and it became like a bank account kind of thing. So I think just exposure,
Mhm.
again, is important. We talk about the schools. You walk in, there's a computer in front of you.
Mhm.
It's got to start in those spaces where there should be dedicated rooms
Mhm.
with no technology. I was just doing some research on libraries and talking to my students right now, and they said, it's rare that they have seen, if at all, a library with books in it. They said at the school level, the library is a space where it's got laptops and things like that, where all the books are online. And that's awful. There should be at the school system rooms and spaces that are technology free, so you can go and just detox and just
Mm.
relax and calm, right?
I love it. It was always so quiet in the library, and
Mhm.
just holding the book in your hand is just so, it's like newspaper. I miss the newspapers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
What's a belief you once held that you later realized it was wrong?
Well, I could go down a complete religious rabbit hole, but I think for myself, again, it was, and I'll be honest, I still struggle with it. It's a sense of self. I struggled greatly in high school, and barely graduated because it was a system based on mindsets that weren't my own. It's a system that does not recognize or reward creativity, because creativity is against structure.
Mhm.
And so, in a school system that was very mathematical, science, computer arts, those sorts of things, I struggled. And I'll be honest, to this day, it's still a struggle with self worth, because those formative years that I was growing up, it was reinforced to me that what I did and what was important to me and my mindset was disruptive, was wrong, was not worthy of marks, right? So these foundational things, at the wrong part of your lifetime of your life, is incredibly damaging. And so that's something that I still struggle with, but I'm able to articulate it and talk to other people about it, and talk to my students about it, and that as from a space of knowledge, of experience. And again, a lot of what I write in that, people would get the wrong answer, that the wrong idea that I'm a technophobe and that I'm anti-technology, and it's quite the opposite. Like I said, I've had pretty much every generation of the iPhone, for example, and things like that, because I like the automation that it can afford me. It reminds me of my meetings and things like that, so I can have more time to create.
Mm. Yeah,
Um,
it's interesting. I think I'm in my 50s as well, and I find it too that the way that we were, I don't want to say programmed, but the way that we were brought up, in the way that if you're not good enough, if you don't sit straight, if you don't pay attention, there's a lot of these things. And I think I struggled with certain things too in my life. And I started to be very conscious and very aware of certain things. My late 40s,
mhm.
my spiritual life, my personal life, my everything just bubbled up to the surface. But I just stayed open, and I said, no more resistance, no more. I was curious. And I think
Yep.
the curiosity in my life had brought me to where I am right now. I'm still learning. It's a path of never ending journey for me
Mhm.
right now.
Yep.
Where talking to people like yourself and talking to other people, it really gives you like different perspective, more understanding, asking questions, the why instead of what. I think those are the fundamental things for me. So,
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what it all comes down to. With my design students, I show them a short video at the beginning of every class of a different designer and their approach, because I want them to see how many different ways designers create, even though it's the same industry. And that in experiencing all these different designers and their process and how they get about their day and creating work, that they will discover their own path, right? In the sense that everybody has a different approach and different mindset. And I think that's really important, again, is context and understanding that there isn't any one answer. And that seeing other people and how they, and that, again, what we do for a living is a privilege, because we are constantly learning. To do our job properly, you've got to understand your client's business and their audience and all of those things. So you're always learning, even if you're doing, if you've done a winery and you're doing a new winery, it's not just, rinse and repeat. You've got to start from scratch. And what makes this one different? And why do they exist? And why, asking all those questions. But I think in general, outside of that industry, and that we should be that as people anyways. And a lot of the technology, including AI, is, and a lot of what I'm seeing online right now is attempts to make us dumber, attempts to make us lazier, because it's taking the process out of things. And it's the process that we learn. It's in the process that we grow. It's not the final piece, right? And everything's trying to make it so easy for us to, again, AI, you can make a beautiful painting using AI and prompts and that. But what did you learn? You only learn if you're, mixing the paint, and making mistakes and mixing the wrong color and then realizing, oh, actually, this is better.
Right. Yeah, it's a good point. I think dipping your toes into this, it's important. Knowing the colors. I call it the colors of life in a way, right? Try different things and see if it works or if it doesn't. So
Yeah, absolutely. And again, the world obviously needs a lot more empathy right now, and understanding how we are very different, and to celebrate that and not condone it, and not condone it, and not try to push it down. Yeah. being who I am and what I do, I've always been a nonconformist, so that's kind of that's my life. It's not easy, but it makes a huge difference, right? And just being aware and open. I think one of the wonderful things is my sons went to a Catholic high school, and in their, I think grade 11, religion class was world religions. And they spent the whole semester learning about Judaism and Muslim and like all of the different religions in the world, from an informational point of view. This is what they believe and why they believe it. And, so again, you get to that age of maturity where it's like, okay, if I decide to practice a faith, I know what's out there. I understand the different beliefs and what connects with me, but also that understanding of, because I think a lot of times the anger is grounded in misinformation or lack of knowledge of where people are coming from, and it's not just religion; it's a lot of things.
Politics, all this stuff. Yeah. Yeah, we're not going to touch that today, but
I know. But I have, like when I show these designers at the beginning of class, I always preface it by saying, just because I'm showing you this designer doesn't mean I agree with them or I like their work. I'm showing you a range, and I want you to see that range. And after you finish watching this, I want you to watch it. I want you to be present. I want you to actively listen, take down some notes, because we're going to discuss afterwards. And I want to hear what you thought. Is this person, good at what they do? Are they not good at what they do? Do you like how they present the work? Do you find them too egotistical? Do you, and I want to hear
Their perspectives and their
Yeah, I want to hear
views.
opposites. I
Mm,
want to like, and it's wonderful when that happens. Like, no, I couldn't stand that guy. He was such an egotist. And then somebody else like, no, that was confidence. And when we get into those debates, it's wonderful.
mhm.
It's I don't know. There's energy in that.
Yeah,
And
but it also creates a dialogue between two people because I find it too, and I've learned this in the last 10 years, is that we all have our own perspectives and we all have our own views without, I mean, obviously there's others that have influence on us and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, let's say you and I don't agree with certain things, but we can hear each other
Mhm.
and still can have, like you said, empathy, understanding. And I'm not going to be like, I hate you because you have a different point of views on that particular subject or the movie, for example. It's just having these dialogues, it really opens us up to so much possibilities.
Yep,
Empathy. I think empathy, like you said, it's a lack of empathy for us today to um, have a communication or having that debate with another human being.
yep. I mean, even to the basics of like, I'm a huge cinephile. I love movies,
Mhm.
and there's one particular movie that came out a little while ago that I just adored. And a friend of mine said, "Oh, have you seen this movie?" And I went, "Yeah." He said, "What a piece of crap!" And he just was like, he said it was so laughable and this and that. And I went, "Wow, I really loved the film." So we had a great discussion about it.
Mhm.
Polar opposites to the same thing, right?
Good.
But I found it really interesting. Like, okay, I immediately wanted to have a discussion. Well, why did you? What parts did you find laughable, and why? And
Yeah.
because I had a very different experience, so it's fun to do that.
Yeah. 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 Sometimes, yes.
Yeah,
What do people misunderstand most about uh, purpose and passion?
I think. Well, purpose in a lot of cases is something that's given to us. Like we say, well, my purpose is this, but it is, something that is externalized. A passion is natural. Passion will come across when you get somebody talking about a subject that they're passionate about. And this, again, I tell my students always lead with your favorite piece in your portfolio because you're passionate about it. And when you're talking about it, that
Mhm,
energy is contagious.
mhm,
Your position, how you're sitting or standing will change. You'll be gesturing. Your eyes will be wider. It'll be the energy is there, and that is transferable. So when we speak about passion, that is something that comes naturally. Purpose is more defined, right? Purpose is taking passion and defining it in a structure, whether it's with career or those sorts of things. Like when I started in my industry, my purpose was to create beautiful work. Then that changed to communicate, and then that changed now to educate. So my purpose has changed. My passion has not. My purpose is now to educate. And I feel that when you reach a certain point in your career, after so many years, we all become teachers, whether we do it literally or not. Um, we are educating the generation behind us in what we do, and that's where purpose comes in. Is our purpose is then to educate, or our purpose should be to learn, or to lead by example. Those sorts of things. So passion, is internal going external, and purpose is a bit of both.
mhm. I find too that a lot of people that I see, they have the passion, but they're like, I don't know what my purpose is. So
Right.
it's like finding a way of figuring out. You
Yeah.
know, life is all about learning. It's a long journey of in our 20s. Our purpose and passion was completely different than what it is now. It could change, obviously, right?
But just like you said there, I have a passion, but not a purpose, and that's
Mhm.
right there. That's internal versus external. Your
Mhm.
passion is internal. It's what lights you up, right?
That's it.
And for that person to say, I've got a passion but not a purpose, it's because she or he are looking for external validation for that passion, or external application of that passion, which is, again, a lot of times it's based on feedback and
Mhm.
all of those things. So we're looking for that validation for our passion.
Mhm.
Um, that's how I look. For me, it was a journey of, okay, I've done this for this many years. Now what? Right? What is next? And that's when your passion is looking for a purpose,
Mm.
right? And we look at
Mm.
ageism, for example, now, and things like that. How do we combat that? Um, again, it's looking for that validation, or and validation in some cases. In other cases, it's application, right? Validation versus application. But it's that, okay, I've got this passion. Where do I place it? And we also look at it, again, I see so many students now who are in their second career coming to graphic design because they followed a path out of high school that was not their own. They followed what their parents wanted them to do. They followed what society wanted them to do. They followed what their marks at school told them they needed to do.
Mhm.
And 15 years in, they're like, I've always wanted to be a designer. I've always wanted to be an illustrator. I've always wanted to be. And they're coming around to that now. But it's that passion that is now being converted into um, that direction, and purpose, right? Because
Mm.
they didn't see the purpose.
Yes.
Coming out of high school, they didn't see the purpose of art. They
I
didn't see the
find it I find
right.
it very hard for I mean, I remember when I was 18, I didn't know what I want to do.
Hmm.
I took 2 years off, maybe
Yep.
close to 3 years, traveled the world. I did things that I wanted to do. And even when I came back, I still didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yep.
Um, and having my own children right now, we're kind of going through the same process with our daughter. Like she's 18, she's going to be 19.
Yep.
And she's like, Mom, I don't know. So
Hmm.
she's been taking a year off right now because she doesn't know. And it's hard to push them into something that they don't want to take or they don't want to do.
Yeah.
Well, this summer she went to Europe. She did Mont Blanc by herself.
Oh,
She did 11 days travel from France, Italy, and Switzerland.
nice. So she was
Beautiful.
in Germany.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Loved it. And we had actually a discussion with her like a couple days ago, and we're like, "Hey, have you decided? Like, what's your thoughts?" She's like, "I really don't know." She's kind of in between like English major, like she loves writing and reading. That's her thing.
Hmm.
Like she reads a lot of books online, unfortunately. Um, but she's also talking about now a virtual art, anything kind of to do with that. Photography, that's her thing. So English major, I don't know. So we're in that stage right now trying to figure out and help her out in the next stages of her life. But at the end of the day, it's her decision
Yep.
because she needs to find that passion and purpose of what she wants to do
Yep.
in a way.
And what I would suggest too, it's something that I was faced at when I graduated from college, was I
Mhm.
studied graphic design and photography
Mhm.
parallel. And when I graduated, I had to make that decision. Well, which one am I going to do as a profession, and which one am I going to keep as a hobby,
Mhm.
um, or my art, right? And so I chose graphic design as my career because it allowed me to use my artistic sensibilities and my writing and that. And then photography became my passion. And so I've never photographed for my graphic design clients, and that I always hired photographers, which some people are like, well, aren't you a photographer? Yes, but that's my art. I don't want it to ever be client based. I want it to be self expression. I photograph what I want to photograph when I want to photograph it. And so, in the case of your daughter, who loves reading and writing, right? And sorry, what was the other
Visual arts.
visual arts, right?
Photography. Mhm.
So, bottom line, we got to make a living. We've got to have a
Yeah.
paycheck. So which one of those are you comfortable with making a paycheck?
Mm.
Which one are you going to celebrate as your personal expression, as your enjoyment, as your
Mm.
outlet? Right. And the lovely thing about writing is she can, again, write her own work and get it out there. We live in a society now that is so connected that you will, whatever you write, you will find an audience. Your
Mhm.
people will.
Mhm. Yeah, and
Uh,
that's what we kept on telling her. It's just like
mhm.
she's like, I don't know if anybody's going to read. So she has that mindset of no one's going to like it.
Yeah.
And because she's more of a fantasy um,
Mhm.
reader, writer. So
Yep.
it's like, no, just let it out there.
Hmm.
You will have those people that will enjoy reading uh, your work.
Give them the opportunity to find you. Right now, you're not letting them find you.
Hmm.
And there are people out there that are going to want to read her stuff,
Right,
and she's not giving them the opportunity.
right. Yeah. I always believe in you have to be vulnerable
100%.
and and put yourself out there. And I know it's hard because you and I, we've been young.
Yeah.
um, it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
You
But I
know.
know myself, I would not want to be a teenager, in this time period with social media and that. I just couldn't imagine, uh, the difficulties with that. I mean, we went through enough when we were growing up, as far as bullying and judgment and that, our own smaller areas, but on a larger scale, it's a lot. Um, but she's got to get, yeah, like put her voice. Nobody else has her voice. Nobody else has her mind in this world. And it's up to her to share it so that people can find it.
What makes a great leader in today's world? So how can these kids um, take that, what you teach them, and
Yeah.
take that
So
to the next stage of their life?
that's really, really important. And there's many different styles. I mean, there's so many books on leadership right now and that, and there's many styles. The one that I adopt is the servant leadership pattern, which is essentially you're there for them, instead of the dictatorship or do this, do this, do this, do this. It's more allowing them the opportunity to learn and to fail, and with that safety net. To be a good learner, you have to be human. You've got to listen, and you've got to understand that everybody is different, and that you can't cookie cutter the path for everybody. I mean, again, it's high school all over again, right? You can't do that. So the idea to celebrate everybody's individuality and their ability to talk about ideas, to bring themselves to the table, is only going to make the company better. And the idea of support. I love, what was it? The Ritz Carlton Hotel gave all of their staff $2,000 to do whatever they wanted to help the customer experience. Right. And right there, that's giving trust, because everybody's like, oh, they're going to abuse it and that. And it's like, no, we're trusting our employees to know, okay, I need to spend the money on this right now. This experience is really important for this couple or this, we lost our connection. No, we're good. Okay. Um, so it's important that a good leader is a good listener,
Mm.
is a good guide. I just coached a business owner recently who owns a design agency, and he is a designer that is now leading or owns a company of 12.
Mhm.
He's been struggling with that. And I said, what you have to understand right now is your portfolio is no longer, oh, I did this logo. Oh, I did this design for this company. Oh, I built this website. Your portfolio now is people.
Mm.
Your portfolio is the output, and the growth and the career development, um, and the evolution of your staff.
Mm.
Knowing that, yeah, they'll eventually move on, but that's the celebration. is that you've had a impact on them and their career. And while they were with you, they brought their best self, right? And everybody else in the company sees everybody else bringing their best self. So an environment that is nurturing, that is learning. Again, I look at when I had a full agency, I always looked at it as an extension of school. It's just another school. You're learning every day. It's just not a classroom anymore. And so when you look at your environment, that to me, that's what makes a good leader is a good educator who leads with empathy and understanding.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and again, being open to the whole idea, because we live in such a fast pace, like we were talking about earlier, that we have to adopt and we have to change. And that's why my podcast is called Ideas with Impact Podcast, because if I can change one person and have an impact on them, I think it it makes my heart smile. It makes
Yeah,
me happy that someone can reach out to you, for example, and be like, you know what, I'm struggling with my mindset. I need
yeah,
change, and how can I get myself out of that rut or
yeah.
whatever they are in their life, you know? So it's
And
very
how
cool.
much privilege is that? How much of an honor is that when somebody reaches out to you and says, "I'm struggling. Can
Yeah.
you help me?"
It's again, it's the vulnerability, right?
Yeah,
Being
yeah.
vulnerable and be like, I need help, and it's okay. I've been there myself.
Hmm.
It's been very hard because we've been programmed not to be vulnerable, and
Yeah,
put up these walls, and you got to do things by yourself. And breaking those walls were so hard. I went through such a hard time myself. Again, I'm only speaking for myself because this podcast also helps me to grow and learn. And yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And that's and your audience, are all the same. That's what I say. When you put it out there, you will attract your tribe or your people who want to learn, and who are open to new ideas and new thoughts. That's the beacon that you're putting out there right now, right? Is for people to learn, and like I said, showing all the different designers to my students. It's like, here's an opportunity. At this point, now we're near the end of the semester, so I can say, okay, now we can have real discussions because we've seen such a variety. Now we can really get into, what works for you and what doesn't. And same with your podcast. That when you're putting it out there, that the whole premise, the whole idea is this idea that mindset and different people doing it and approaching it in different ways will resonate.
Mm. What is the lesson you wish everyone learned earlier in their life?
Okay, so there's two paths here. The first one is, and always is, to really be solid in your sense of self, is really be comfortable in your own skin. Because like I said earlier on, we're our own worst enemy, always. And if we can regulate that as much as possible and be confident in who we are, and understand that it's a very fine line. It's a razor's edge between confidence and ego, but it's an important one. Um, and that confidence, and I think that's what a lot of people struggle with is, and I know I did myself, was that definition. Like, no, I'm not going to put myself out there. No, I'm not going to say those things because that's all ego. You need to have confidence and not mask that in ego. But again, a core confidence in self will be your best guide. And the other one is just practical. It's like learn money. Learn money early in life. It'll save you so much grief. And I don't mean be led by money, because when you don't understand money, then you are led by money. When you do understand money, then it becomes something that you manage. And again, it's like anything in life. The more knowledge you have about something, the better decisions you make. And that's one thing that I've struggled, all my life is understanding money and its place. um, associating money with that emotion, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so for me, that's my path. Is if I was to go back in time, it would be high school is going to have zero effect on your life. So don't give it the authority and the time that you have worried about it.
Mm-hmm.
And the second is learn money in high school, understand what it is and how it's used. Again, I've fought with money my entire life, and the biggest lesson learned is money is freedom. When you have enough of it, and you're a giving person, then it gives you more ability to give.
Mm-hmm.
And being poor does none of that, right?
Yes.
If you have the ability to push yourself forward, to understand it better, and to put yourself in a position, because I think a lot of people who are deep in empathy, who care about other people, also have a bit of a love-hate relationship with money, and we get into that realization that it gives you, being a millionaire doesn't make you um, despicable like a lot of the people that you see.
Mm-hmm.
You could be that person that it just gives you room to give more,
Mm-hmm.
more of your time, more finance, whatever it is. But when we are struggling financially, that we're on um, self-preservation mode, and we're
Mm-hmm.
not helpful for other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's tough right now, I think, for a lot of people financially,
Hmm.
especially these young kids.
Yeah,
Um,
put your
yeah,
mask on first.
right, right. Yeah. How can people, or where can people buy your book or books?
Oh, okay. Well, my book, and I just launched a workbook to go along with it.
Okay.
It is available on Amazon around the world.
Okay.
So no matter where they are, it'll be available on Amazon. So Stop Looking for Zebras is the first book, and it's just and literally, as the title on the book says, is I'm going to read it so I get it right. Um, uh, I don't have it handy here, but it's rants, rants, essays, and observations on how to experience a long and fulfilling creative career. But the feedback I've gotten from a lot of people is that it goes beyond just a creative career. It's just how to be yourself, right? So these are all, like I said, essays, rants, and articles knitted together on how to approach life in a different way that's more meaningful to you and more nurturing to you. And then I wrote a workbook to go along with it, so you can do some exercises to go through those experiences. So both are available on Amazon or on my website.
Is this book for anybody or mostly generated for
Um,
students?
oh no, it's for anybody. It's for people
For anybody.
mid-career. I've had feedback from all stages, and that was kind of intentional. I mean, it's from my 50-year-old brain looking back. And so a lot of it, I'm a pragmatist. I'm an artistic pragmatist, which is a weird mindset. But for me, this stuff, what we do in design is communications, and therefore it has to resonate with an audience. And so everything I talk about is applicable there. It's not just big picture thinking. It's more like getting into the meat of who you are, what you do, how you do it, why you do it, who you do it to, and a lot of the psychology around what we do, like dealing with. There's an anecdote in here called "Present the Concept and Pass the Potatoes," and it's a big thing that we deal with, and I think most people do. That fear of presenting in front of people,
Yes.
right? And so I just parallel it with a Thanksgiving dinner, saying, look, you've got one meal for a table full of people, and there is a vegan there is a meat eater there is picky Aunt Edna. I give them all names. Picky Aunt Edna that doesn't want any of her food touching, and why does Uncle Phil get more meat than I get? And then you got Uncle Phil who's just there to stir up the shit, you know. And just look at it as that, but that's one meal, and your goal with that one meal is that everybody leave the room satisfied. So when you go into your presentation, understanding that you've got those different mindsets and you're peppering in intention, that everybody's going to take something from that in their own way, that is successful. And I've had so many people email me back going, I was in a meeting last week and Aunt Edna was there, or Uncle Phil showed up. And it's just so funny. But when we personify these things, then it resonates and it makes sense. Just like the Frankenstein, right? It's like, oh, I get it. Frankenstein, he took pieces of other people, put it together to make a perfect person. We do the same, with social media. Oh, I get it. Context is so important.
That's a very well put phrase. I like that. Now, in the last word, if you could leave listeners with one core message that would truly change their lives, what it would be?
There's only one of you in this world. Allow everybody to experience that one.
That's powerful. And I think people can actually take that into their heart and not get, because there's a lot of noise going on.
Absolutely. And the only way you'll get through it is that this is who I am. This is how I show up. And that will allow you to edit, like, no, I don't need to watch the news or today, or no, I don't need to, and that'll help you self-regulate, which is really important. But then also show up in a genuine way. So the people that do show up for you, the people that do interact with you are there for the right reasons.
Any final thoughts you'd like to share?
Just that I'm super grateful for this opportunity. It's been a wonderful conversation, and I very much appreciate you reaching out and having this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Robert. So at the end, what I'll do is I'll have all the information and we'll tag it along on our show notes so people can reach you if they would like that. And honestly, I really appreciate you coming on and speaking here on the show.
Oh, it's been great. It's been absolutely great. So if you can email me when it's live and all of that stuff,
Absolutely.
and I'll let my my audience know as well.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aleksandra. It was great meeting you, and it was a great discussion.
Same.